Why should you buy and cut up a whole chicken when you could just buy chicken parts? Well, there's 3 reasons. First, it's a lot more economical. Cut up chicken parts can cost as much as 3 times as buying a whole chicken. Secondly, chicken stock. It's great to use bouillon cubes as a flavor enhancer for pan sauces, but when the stock is a major part of the dish, such as soups, risottos, you can't beat the quality of a pure homemade chicken stock. Even many of the prepared boxed or canned stocks have all kinds of preservatives and other additives that you may be surprised to find. And finally, different parts have different uses. You may use different parts for soups, different parts for barbecue or fried chicken, roasted or baked or shredded pieces for stews. So today, I'll show you how to cut up a whole chicken and how easy and fast it is. Hey everybody, it's Walter from Artistic Gourmet Adventures. My wife Kim and I own this amazing boutique company where we host small groups of 6 to 12 guests for 1-week luxury adventures in beautiful locations throughout Europe. I have the privilege of being the adventure chef, creating and preparing daily gourmet meals. We also enjoy creating in-home private dinners for clients and friends when we're in the States. Many of our guests request our recipes and want to learn cooking tips, so in this video series, coming to you from our cozy home kitchen here in the beautiful Loire Valley of France, we'll demonstrate a wide variety of recipes, from culinary classics to originals, as well as covering a few professional kitchen techniques for the home chef. For more information on Artistic Gourmet Adventures, check our website, linked in the description below. You can also find the recipes and any other referred links there. Now let's start cooking. So to get started with cutting up our whole chicken, let's chat for just a second about whole chicken. The first question is, should you wash a whole chicken? The answer is really, you shouldn't wash a whole chicken. First of all, chickens can carry a bacteria called salmonella that when you wash it can be spread throughout your sink, on your pans, or any utensils you might be using. So it's really best not to wash your chicken. And secondly, you want to make sure that you use a silicone cutting board rather than a wood cutting board. And the reason for that is it's non-porous and it can be disinfected and washed immediately when you use it. And the other thing is that as soon as you're finished with any raw chicken, make sure that you wash your hands thoroughly with soap and water. All right, so as far as the equipment that we're using, notice we're using a silicone cutting board, and I've got it on a non-slip towel to make sure that it doesn't move around as I'm cutting. And also, I like to use about a 6-inch boning knife rather than a chef knife. That way, as I'm cutting the chicken, I can see what I'm doing. And just make sure it's a very sharp knife, and that's really the best piece of equipment you can use for cutting your chicken up. And we also have 3 different bowls. We've got one for discard here. Then we've got another bowl that we'll use for any parts that we want to use for stock for later. And we will put off our final cut up parts in a separate pan. So let's get started. I like for the chicken to be kind of at room temperature, so I've pulled the chicken out about 10 minutes beforehand. And the reason is it relaxes the skin and it gets it all over the parts. And I like to just stretch out my chickens before doing it. There we go, before cutting. Make sure that's nice and warm. And the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to cut the wing tips, because we like to use the wing tips for chicken stock. So I'll start with one. All right. And that's going to go in our stock bowl. And we'll do the second wing tip. And there's just a joint right there. It's easy to cut it. And next we'll just do the wings. Okay. So on each side, there's as you can feel this joint here, this joint here. There's a joint right between the wing and the body of the chicken. So just slip your knife in there. You can pop it back and you can see where the joint is, and easily just take your knife right through that. Same thing on the other side. Just do that, just make a slit. You can pop it back and just go right through the joint. Okay. Okay, so we've got our wings taken off, and now let's proceed to the leg and thigh joints. So what I'd like to do is get the, I want to make sure that we leave as much skin as possible on the breast. So we'll just make a slit right here next to the leg joint. And same thing on the other side. And I'll show you why we're doing both of these. And now what we can do is just take both of these and do this, and it'll pop the joint. And as you can see, now you just go right through the joint to get that thigh and leg cut. And same thing on the other side. And we just want to make sure we get, there's a part called the oyster, which is a very tender and delicious part of the chicken. So we'll make sure that we get the oyster as we cut that part. Okay, and we're going to be doing a boneless breast of chicken. So the best way to do that is, of course, make sure your skin is nice and covering the breast. And there's a plate right in the center, the breastplate. So what we're going to do is take our knife and we're just going to slide it right down the breastplate. And that will give us the point at which we can insert our knife. And as you can see, the little plate is right there. And now all you do is simply, using your knife, you're not really cutting, you're just shaving away the flesh. Okay, so there's one breast part. And then the second breast part, same thing. Just take your knife and put it right along that breastplate. And just easily remove the breast. Okay. Okay, and I like to kind of clean up this breast as we do that. So we'll trim a little bit of that and put that in our discard. Same thing on the other breast. Nicely trimmed. And just notice, it's not totally necessary to do this, but all of the breasts come with an extra piece, which is the tenderloin, and it's just right in the very center. So you could separate that tenderloin if you'd like and use that for another purpose later. Same thing. All right, so there's the two breasts, and now we are left with the carcass. And what I like to do is reserve this for chicken stock. And as you can see, this little bit of skin running down the center of it here, I'll just put my hand there and just remove that skin, because you don't want that in your chicken stock. And we'll just discard that. And then we've got this little piece on the end here that we'll just remove, because it can be bitter for your chicken stock. And any other fatty parts or skin that we don't want to use, we can put in our discard bowl. So now we will put our cutting board away. And I'm just going to wipe my hands. And now here we've got our two wings, two breasts, a drumstick and thigh, and a drumstick and thigh, and the 2 chicken tenderloins. And one other thing I might want to show you is before we completely get rid of our cutting board, if you decide you want to separate the drumstick from the thigh, there is a little line, just a little fat line right down the center, right between the leg and the thigh joint. Just put your knife there, and that's how you can separate those 2 joints. So we'll do that on both pieces. Just that little fat line. Now we've got our tray of our chicken parts that are ready to cook. And that's how easy it is to cut up a chicken. If this video was helpful and you'd like to see more, click the thumbs up button below and hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.